And good morning. How is everybody? My name is Lisa Beals from Not Your College Life. And if you are a follower, I apologize. Life has got the best of me, and this is late coming out to you. So I really hope it was worth the wait. Yeah, like you guys, I'm feeling it. I had some, not downtime, but my workload and personal life were kind of at a balance until the last 2 weeks with my professional job that I get actually paid for. Got a little crazy in the last week, and so whew, I had a lot of physical work going on. I was doing some graduation in a box. Yeah, the physical toll that took on this 51-year-old was not what I was prepared for. So, note to self, when I am helping to unload, fold, and stuff and ship 7,800 boxes, girlfriend might want to take a little time for a breather. So that's where I've been. And what do I have for you today? Today, I'm going to talk about end of term and 3 things that you need to talk about with your student once grades post. Okay? All right, here we go. So here we are approaching end of term, and now what? What are next steps? This is hashtag COVID-19 season. So the normal advice that I would give, I'm going to edit just a little bit for the COVID-19 edition. So let's talk grades. First, your student needs to know where to view their grades, what's official and what's not. That's the most important thing. Those are not my tips, but it's important for foundation. You and your student need to know, where do you look to know what the final grade is. It's not in Blackboard, it's not in Canvas, it's not in Brightspace. The official transcript is the official grade. So many times what you see in Blackboard or Canvas is not going to be what the faculty actually report. So the first thing your student needs to do is look to see what was the official grade report. Before they freak out, before they celebrate, what was actually reported for their transcript. Go and look there. If the final grade reported is not what your student expected, their first course of action is to verify their records to see if there was a calculation error, and then notify the faculty. If there was no calculation error and the grade is still wrong, faculty is still the first choice. Now note, faculty are probably going to get hit by hundreds of students. Give your faculty a solid 24 to 48 hours to respond, but I would do it via email so you have a trail. Make it a professional email. If in 48 hours they do not hear from their faculty, then they're going to want to take that same email, reply again, and now you're going to want to copy the department head for that faculty. In most cases, that's an easy Google search. So I would do IU department heads, Purdue department heads, Michigan State department heads. Many times you'll find a listing on Google search. If you get stuck, who are you going to email? You're going to email me, and I'm going to tell you what search terms I used to find it, and we'll find it together. Okay, so they're going to figure out how to get that grade corrected if it's wrong. Then you're going to sit with your student, and they're going to evaluate how did they do. Now, since this is COVID term, I am not sure of any institution that is holding to their current academic standards and placing students on probation or doing an academic drop or dismissal because of COVID. If you are, let me know. I'm really curious which institution feels that they are so sheltered from the effects of COVID-19 that no student should be held to different standards this semester. I would be very curious to hear that. But nonetheless, everyone else, while the university is saying, we're not going to penalize you, theoretically, your student may have been placed on probation or academic drop. They're not. So while it's an opportunity for grace, it should not be glossed over. There are still lessons to have been learned and ramifications to still feel come fall semester when your student goes back. So here are four things I want you and your student to consider. First, it's important to know what GPA did your student earn, both for the semester and overall, because those are the two values that institutions assess your student by. In almost all cases, if your student didn't earn a 2.0 on a 4-point scale for both their semester and their overall GPA, they would have been at risk for being placed on probation or academically dropped, dismissed. If you and your student don't know what those thresholds are for your university, you better go figure it out. Google will probably tell you pretty easily. If Google can't tell you, Lisa will tell you. So you email Lisa, okay? So go and figure out what those thresholds are and then compare how did your student do this semester. If they did well, congratulations. Pat them on the back and give them that recognition. That's huge in the semester that we just experienced. The shift and the drama and the media and the hype and the unknown. Give them that credit. Please do not let it go by. If they did not do well, then don't beat them up. But you also should not gloss over it. You need to acknowledge with your student something didn't go right. So that's the first step. What went wrong that caused the GPA that they're having this semester? Was it the switch to remote? Is that just not their type of learning that they are strong at? If that is the case, y'all need to really have a serious conversation about plans for fall and what universities are going to have to do for fall and what is in the best interest of your student to figure that out. Because if it is remote learning for fall and that was a pitfall for your student, we need to figure out what can you and your student do to set them up for success this fall. Should they be in another remote learning? And if that remote learning is happening under your roof or back at the university, because that may be an option, but you need to seriously consider is that how can you set your students up for success? And again, this is not just you. This is a collective review, discussion, decision between you and your student. You are the parent. You are teaching them how to assess when things don't go right and to plan for their future success. So if the plan is potentially for remote this fall and remote was the problem for them, what are you going to do collectively, the two of you, to ensure success this fall? Talk about it. Come up with a plan and a plan B and maybe even a plan C. Okay, so that was your first step. Assess where they're at today and either celebrate or determine what happened so that you can come up with a plan for success in the future. Okay? Now, number 2 is considering summer for a catch-up. Now, summer for a catch-up doesn't mean just because maybe they didn't pass everything or because they had to drop something this semester because they weren't doing well. Summer as a catch-up could also mean giving them some breathing room for fall by taking something in the summer to reduce their credit load for the fall because, again, we still don't know what's going to happen. A lot of things are still unknown. Would they benefit from having a lower course load in the fall so that taking summer as a catch-up would give them that opportunity. The other thing summer could do, potentially, is summer could shave an entire semester, spring or fall, off of your students' timeline and get them out in the workforce if they're in a field that is not experiencing layoffs right now. So healthcare, science, education. Let's be real. These teachers, some of them are not going to make the switch well or haven't, and they're going to be tapping out to retirement for the next generation who can adjust and make online learning engaging and successful for our students today. So teachers are not off the hook right now. Teachers are not going to be worried about jobs, or shouldn't be. And if you think you are, you're not marketing yourself right. Anybody in the healthcare industry, anybody in digital media, right? Everything's going online. Instructional learning, commercials. For the creative person, there's a lot of opportunity out there that your student could get out into the work field a semester early. And while you may be paying a few $1,000s for summer tuition, the tuition for a full-time spring or fall, plus you not having to pay rent, plus you not having to pay for food, plus your student earning an income, could put you ahead in the end. So just consider summer is not just for students that need to retake a class because they had to withdraw or fail, not just for the student who might need to take a class or two in the summer to give them a little breathing room in the fall, but it could be for that student that has the potential to graduate a semester early and get out in the workforce. We need is it the millennials? I don't think this is the millennials anymore. I think this is the Gen Z. I think we need Gen Z out here, moving and shaking. This is the generation of hope and compassion and resilience and grit. They got this. Now, this is not to say that millennials don't have that. There are many millennials that do. But I'll be the first one to tell you that I did my fair share of pampering for my millennials are kind of on the edges of the generations. I did my fair share. I did not want them to have to struggle or suffer. And, it wasn't to their benefit. Thankfully, they have a dad who called me out on it, and they are both very bullheaded and headstrong young women and have found their own resilience and grit, and they're extremely successful right now, in my opinion. So, not beating down on the millennials. But the Gen Z, these kids are really going to shape a significant change that I expect to see in the world. Okay, so step number 3 then. So 1 was assess where you're at. Number 2, consider summer. Number 3 is, do they need to adjust what they're taking in the fall now? It's always my recommendation to do it right away. Ideally before grades post, but knowing that the students this semester in particular may not know where a faculty member is going to decide to cushion their curve a little bit because of COVID, because of their own personal assessment of how they adjusted to remote learning, and the fact that they might err on the side of the students. I would have them wait until they see that final grade. What they think they're going to earn and what the faculty actually award them may allow them to just take the credit and run. Now, I would always caution students to talk to their academic advisor, because if the grade they're getting is a pseudo gimme grade and they need this course and the contents to prepare them for a higher level course, that's not going to be in the student's best interest, because then they're going to struggle yet again. So before you take the gimme grade or whatever grade it is and call it a day, right? In some cases, a Mercy D minus is enough to earn the credit, check the box, and move on. Don't look back. Because in the grand scheme of things, 120 credits, a 3 or 5 credit D minus, once you get to 120, retaking that for a B is going to have such a small impact on your overall GPA that it's not worth delaying your progression. So wait until your student sees their final grade and then determine what changes do I need to make in the fall. Do I need to retake something? Do I need to look and see what has already pivoted to remote or fully online or hybrid and know where are my strengths? Where do I need to try and shuffle this time to a later time to see if there's a later time available to fit so that maybe my ADHD medication has kicked in. You know your student and their healthcare needs. They know their healthcare needs. If a time has shifted that's not going to work for them, they need to look at that. They need to consider that. If they need to retake something, once final grades post, that is the time to adjust their fall schedule for that retake. Drop the one that they can delay another semester. If it's something they're not going to take in the summer, delay that one another semester. Make sure that your student is considering what courses are fall only courses so that they're not inadvertently dropping that and now adding a full year onto graduation. And how they can do that is look at the last spring. If what they're dropping and planning to take this fall is what they're shifting to next spring, 80% of the time, this is an educated guess after 20 years in higher ed, 80% of the time, that fall course, if it's going to be offered in spring of 21, would have been offered spring of 20. Have them go look at the spring 20 schedule. Was it offered? If it was, they've got a high probability that it will be offered in the spring of 21. If it was not offered, do not drop the course until you've contacted your advisor or the department that offers the course to confirm when they expect to offer it next. Doesn't do you any good to pick up a course in the summer or to modify your course in the fall so you can graduate on time if now you're just kicking the can an entire academic year because you've just dropped a fall only course and it's not going to be offered again until fall 21. That's not what you want to do. Okay, so if they're looking at the fall schedule and what they want to pivot to has no space, do not give up hope, because there are situations where the university, the week after grades post, students will be doing similar actions. They're going to be looking to drop something, so it may be something your student's looking for. Sit tight. If there's a waitlist option, sign up for it. If there's not, reach out to the department and determine what are their expected demands on that course. Do they expect that a seat will open up for you? And then look to see, I don't recommend this, but look to see, are there other tools out there like Courseicle? I don't highly recommend it. It can give you false positives because it will tell you there's an open seat, even though that open seat is earmarked in the university system with their own internal wait list. So I would just say proceed with caution on those alternative options for monitoring course space. Lastly, students may get dropped by the university for that future course because they did not successfully complete the prerequisite course this term. So I would say that first week after grades post, there's going to be some fluidity in the enrollment. And so your student should probably try and look at least once a day. Different times of the day would be best for the next week to see if there's space. If they're worried because they don't think there's going to be any movement, a conversation email is always my recommendation. An email is always a good option to consider with the academic advisor because there may be an appropriate substitution course that your student could take that they didn't realize. So don't let your student get hung up on the fact that there's no space in a course and they don't think there will be space. until they've exhausted is there a substitute course that I could take? And the answer may be no, in which case you can start to get a little worried and apply some pressure to the academic department in charge of the course with the fact that your student needs this to graduate on time. Number 4 is the last option to consider is, does your student actually need a break for a semester or an academic year? Do they need a break for their physical and emotional health to get them in a place where they can be academically successful again? No one wants you or your student to waste tuition dollars. And if they have anxiety and they're worried, it's going to be a chore for them to be focused and be successful. If they're prone to anxiety and their anxiety is out of control, if they're prone to anxiety and you don't have a therapist that is accessible and available to them while they're at university, their probability of not being successful is going to be high. I don't know if I said that right, but I think you know what I mean. If they're physically not well, then of course you need to also consider that. Now, this year more than any year is going to be easy to explain a break in your academic studies. Hashtag COVID-19, right? There's going to be an assumption that you got sick or a family member got sick and your student had to take care of them or they had to take care of themselves. And so, a break anytime during 2020 is going to be easily explained to an employer or a graduate school or a transfer school. It's not going to be looked at as harshly. Now, if your student is determined and they pursue that and they still do poorly, GPA is always tough to explain, in my opinion. Especially because so many institutions have afforded grace for students. If they still manage to tank it, it's because of their own decision making and not being able to properly assess when it's time to pull the plug, when it's time to pivot. Those are skills that everybody needs to learn, and we're all going to learn them at a different time. But I'm going to encourage you as the parent that have that hard conversation with your kiddo about, do you need to take a break? What does that look like? And a break may not be out of school entirely. It may be come home where there's less responsibility. I mean, theoretically, right? It may be more responsibility. I don't know. Because you may need help with them on technology, with chores, with homeschool. I don't know. That's part of the picture you all need to assess. Where do they need a break, and what does a break look like for them, and how can you help them with that to get their physical and emotional health where it needs to be so that they can pick back up and journey on towards graduation. There you go. End of term COVID style for 2020. I hope this was helpful. My goal is always to provide information to help you as the parent of a college student figure out how to navigate college life, since it's not the college life that you led as a student, especially in today's crazy fast changing pace. If there is a topic that you need help with, if there is information in this episode that you need help with, please reach out. My goal is to be a resource to you and to make this journey easier and more enjoyable for both you and your student. If you are not already following me on social media, go over there and follow me. I try to be entertaining and helpful, letting you know when I've got new episodes out, what they're about, some little insider tips about my day job. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook by looking for Not Your College Life with Lisa Beals. I'm on both platforms, and you can reach out to me either place. I can't wait to talk to you guys again soon, and take care. By the way, this episode is a good introduction to a project I have been sitting on for probably 6 months, and that project is going to be a little mini workshop that I plan to make available. It'll be a digital workshop, right? That's what we're in, digital world. It's going to be a digital workshop. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to call it yet. Something like academic recovery. And it's going to be a really in the weeds detail about how to help your student recover from a bad semester. It will include videos and some PDF worksheets and how-to step-by-step guides. Looking for folks like you that want to give this a shot. It's cheaper than a textbook in most cases. And the goal of the Academic Recovery Workshop is to help your student save their GPA and get them positioned to not have such a huge hole to dig themselves out of, and to work through some of the things we've talked about in this episode as well on how to set them up for success going forward despite having a difficult semester. So be on the lookout for the Academic Recovery Workshop. It will be $47 for the independent study version of the workshop, and it will be $97 for the version that includes 1 hour of one-on-one consulting with me to help you through to review some of your students' documents before submission. Watch for it. If you're interested and you want to make sure you get included in that offer, you can certainly email me or message me on Facebook or Instagram. My email is lisa@lisabeals.com. And don't forget, my mom spelled my name very differently. It's Lesa. So it's lisa@lisabeals.com. And I can't wait to talk to you guys again soon. So take care.